Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. On this video, I've got posts from the subreddits Am I the A-hole with an update and one from Regular Revenge. So if you want to get started with the stories, just use the timestamps below the video. I'd also like to give a big shout out to all my supporters and the new members that have been coming in. It makes a huge difference and it really means a lot to me, so thank you very much. Now, let's get started with the stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Throw Freeze Country. Am I the a-hole for accidentally calling out a new colleague on lying about her language skills? Last week, a new colleague, Kathy, 33 female, started at my, 25 female, workplace. She instantly stood out in the team because she seems like someone who is very loud and assertive. Two of my colleagues, me and Kathy, were having coffee in the break room. We were the only ones in there and we were sitting far apart when the subject of travel was brought up. My colleague said she wasn't booking trips anymore because it'll probably get cancelled because of COVID anyway. Kathy immediately cut in about how sad she is because she travels so often and she goes on these far exotic trips to Europe as her hobby. When I think exotic, I think the Bahamas or something instead of Europe, but cool. Kathy then jokes about how all this no travel business is making her fear that she'll lose some of her foreign language skills. I asked what languages she spoke. She claimed to be fluent in 3 European languages, among which were French and Dutch. Kathy said she was at a native speaker level and went on about how people in Europe were always surprised they would found out she wasn't from there. I was excited because I never get to speak Dutch over here. I was raised in Belgium, which has 3 national languages, French and Dutch, which are my mother tongues and the most commonly spoken there, and German. It's quite common to be pretty fluent in at least 2 of the 3 languages in Belgium, because you're required to learn them at school, along with English, from a young age. Then I told Kathy in Dutch, "Oh fun, we have something in common then." She immediately pulled this sour face and asked me if that was supposed to be Dutch. I said yes. She laughed awkwardly and said she couldn't understand because I have a terrible accent and must not be that good at speaking it. Now see, I don't have an accent. I speak Dutch more fluently than I speak English. I told Kathy that I grew up speaking Dutch and speak it to my family all the time. She got miffed and asked what languages I speak and where I'm from. I told her I'm from Belgium, so I also speak French, and I added, which you just said you speak as well. Cool, we can speak French instead. I acknowledged that I was a bit of a D here because by that point I knew she probably lied about speaking French as well. She then shoved her chair back and angrily got up, said, "Whatever," and stomped off. It was awkward. My other colleagues just kinda shrugged and said she shouldn't have lied. However, she later approached me and told me I embarrassed her by acting superior about my European heritage. I told her that there was no way for me to know she'd lied about speaking those languages. She rolled her eyes and told me I was immature. A colleague told me that Kathy had called me a little B-word who enjoys bullying new colleagues, behind my back later. I don't think I was a bully at all, but I don't want this to turn into a huge thing. Do I apologize to keep the peace? Am I the a-hole? No, OP, don't apologize. You are not the a-hole. Kathy's just upset she got called out on her lie, which she shouldn't have done in the first place. I mean, honestly, how could she think nobody's ever gonna call her out on speaking other languages? Maybe she's just used to that lie and she only tells it around when she thinks nobody else speaks that language, so nobody's gonna call her out. But in this case, well, she had to meet you, right? So of course she's upset with you. In any case, I'd be careful with this one, because she's already calling you names behind your back, so you know she's about office gossip. And you also know she doesn't care about lying, so put those two together and she might try to get you in trouble. So I'd say, OP, be careful and keep an eye out, because she sounds like the type of Karen who might just escalate things. What do you guys think? Let me know what your judgment is in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. Saint Alvis says, not the a-hole. Quote, I embarrassed her by acting superior about my European heritage. End quote. I mean, not that, but you are superior to her in that you don't feel the need to lie to impress people. Quote, Kathy had called me a little B-word who enjoys bullying new colleagues. End quote. Oh, Kathy, talking aloud into the mirror again. Always It's Spring says, not the a-hole, but you should take this incident to HR. She's talking about you behind your back and using language that isn't appropriate for the workplace. HR needs a heads up. Quirky Anxiety 4545 says, not the a-hole. This is exactly why people shouldn't claim to speak languages they don't know. Eventually, you will find someone who actually speaks said languages. It's not bullying to get excited about being able to speak your native language with someone else. OP's Edit 1. I'm not sure about escalating this to HR, which a lot of people have told me I have to do. I feel this might make me look immature to the rest of my colleagues, of which I am the youngest, and it might not need to go that far. It depends on if Kathy is willing to put this behind her and be professional. If all else fails, I do have witnesses who would be honest about what happened, so I think I might be in the clear if she tries to twist the story. Edit 2. Some people have taken offense to me giving the Bahamas as an example of an exotic place and are trying to make this into a race issue. I didn't know exotic was an offensive term in the US. Do I think the Netherlands, Belgium, England, Norway, which were countries she was describing as being faraway exotic destinations, as my idea of an exotic trip? No. Not because there's a lot of white people there, but because when I think of exotic, I think of a place with nice sunny weather, white sand, beaches, and blue ocean. Maybe it's because I'm from Belgium, but I don't really feel like being in my home country where it's dark and rainy all the time is quite that experience. Edit 3. Some people think she might not have understood me because she is fluent in Dutch, but learned it in the Netherlands, which has different accents. While it is true that the Netherlands and Flanders have different accents, I didn't speak a very specific dialect like West Flemish or something. I spoke the general Dutch you'd see in the news in Flanders. I didn't speak quickly to try and make it incomprehensible to set her up. I genuinely believed she spoke Dutch because that's what she was saying. So I talked to her in normal conversational Dutch, the same kind of Dutch I'd use in a work environment back in my home country, the same kind of Dutch I use with my friends from the Netherlands, but with a soft G, lol. Well, the community definitely thinks that OP is not the a-hole and that she should actually take this to HR. Which, like OP said on the edits, she doesn't think she has to do unless this Kathy person tries to escalate or something, in which case she's got witnesses, so there shouldn't be a problem there. Now, if you're interested in knowing what happened to Kathy after this, well, stick around because the update's coming right now. Many people gave the advice to go to HR. Others said not to go to HR because that would be escalating the situation. I decided not to go to HR right then, but I did take the advice to write down what happened, with the time and the names of the other colleagues present just in case. I thought the situation might blow over, because Kathy was probably just embarrassed. Well, I was wrong. Kathy kept being cold to me, rolling her eyes at me in meetings and talking behind my back. Another colleague came to confront me at one point to ask me why I'd been so mean. Apparently, Kathy was telling a different version of what happened. Kathy said I'd said mean things to her in Dutch and was making fun of her in Dutch, so no one else but her could understand. She was smart enough to only tell these stories to colleagues who weren't actually there for it. Word got around and it turned into a bigger issue, with a couple people actually questioning my character, mostly just colleagues that don't work very close to me. HR got wind of it after a while, and I got called in close to a month after the incident. They had already met with Kathy, and she told them the "she cursed me out in Dutch and was very mean to me" story. I told them the full story and everything that happened. They asked me if there was anyone else present who could confirm this. So those colleagues came and told them that Kathy had lied about speaking a language, stormed out, and then started calling me a B word, etc. to others. They thanked me for my time, and I got on with my work. Nothing happened until a week later when I was informed that Kathy was asked to leave. Apparently, Kathy had doubled down on the lies and told everyone I was the one lying, and she did speak those languages. So my boss told her in that case she'd have no problem talking to one of our Canadian colleagues who wasn't involved in the situation, in French, in front of him, just to confirm. At this point, Kathy admitted she had been lying. It turned out she didn't speak a word of French either, or Norwegian, which was the third language she was lying about. This was enough for them to let her go, because part of the reason they'd hired her was that they were so impressed with her speaking multiple languages and work experiences she'd had abroad. The work experiences were made up as well. I'm just happy it's over. I'm confident it wasn't really my fault it blew up now. If it wasn't me who caught her in a lie, someone else probably would have down the line. The few people who kind of believed her ended up coming to me and apologizing for questioning me about what happened. So that's all sorted. Well, OP, it's great that everything was cleared up, that you had the witnesses, and that HR, was able to properly investigate this thing and then dispense with Kathy. I mean, what is wrong with her lying about this stuff, lying about your work experience? Lies have short legs, and lies like these are easily debunked, so of course he was gonna get caught. Anyways, good riddance to Kathy. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Regular Revenge, categorized as petty, and it's by user Marblaze. Roommate kicks me out to live with her boyfriend. I took everything I paid for. My best friend of 5 years and I were 18 years old and decided to go live on our own and rent an apartment together. The apartment was small and cheap, but in a great location. We only had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a small kitchen. We decided to not split costs for furniture so that when either one of us moves out, they can just take the stuff they paid for. Like, she bought the dining table and chairs, I bought the microwave. Over time, smaller things like a bookshelf and some door handles, the landlord was very flexible with stuff like this, and other knickknacks we paid 50-50 for. I also decided to put another floor in my room, as did she. Cue 6 months later, and our relationship deteriorated. She was blowing off hanging with mutual friends just to be with her boyfriend and kept buying him stuff. He was a total a-hole. The type to believe that women should do all the household chores. I often found him in the shared kitchen in his underwear. But she was head over heels and had only eyes for him. He still lived with his parents, so he was keen to move out and wanted to live with her. The apartment would have definitely been too small for the 3 of us, and I wouldn't want to be the third wheel anyway. We weren't talking much at one point, and I didn't think too much of it. Think it would just blow over and the relationship would end. After 8 months, she told me she wanted to live together with her boyfriend, and she wanted to give me time to find a new place. I wasn't surprised, as they have grown even closer together and I wasn't feeling comfortable anymore in the apartment anyway. Also, the landlord that lived in the same building was becoming very hostile and racy towards me. I'm white but come from an immigrant background. I had a look at some rooms to rent, but no luck. It was either too expensive or I didn't like the location, so was thinking about going back to my parents. 1 month after she told me she wanted to give me time, she sent me a text saying she was done with me. Don't know what set it off, and I needed to be moved out this weekend. It was Friday. I told her my rent was paid off till the end of the month, so no. To which she transferred the money for my rent and told me to be moved out. I called my family to help me move to my parents. Luckily, I didn't own much stuff. My mom was so angry, she brought spray cans to spray on the walls, which I talked her out of. But we did decide to take everything I paid for. I took the flooring I put in with me. The linoleum was easy cut out, and we left the scraps that we were unable to get out. Remember the door handles and bookshelves I paid half for? My dad sawed the bookshelves in half, and we put half of it in the trash. We disassembled all the door handles I paid for and took the same halves of the handles so that they wouldn't work anymore. She had like 3 to 4 door handles which were incomplete. I forgot, no lie, to give the keys to the landlord when I moved out. She called me really angry, telling me I have to give them back or she would put new locks in. Remembering she was a racy a-hole, I told her to put new locks in then. In the end, I never heard from the roommate again. Her boyfriend moved in with her and the landlord started terrorizing her. She eventually moved and I heard her relationship ended after about a year. So remember, chicks before dicks and bros before hoes. Well, OP, you did move out like she requested, so this is a mixture between a revenge and malicious compliance, cause also the agreement was you take everything that you owned and the things that you bought together, well, you owned half of. Hopefully your ex-friend learned the lesson and she started behaving better in time with other relationships that she might have had. And I just gotta say, your parents sound awesome. Your mom, man, with spray cans ready to spray paint the house cause she was pissed. That was fantastic. Your parents are MVPs. Your dad sewing everything in half that you owned. Fantastic. Loved it. Petty. Very petty, but just enough. That was a good story. Alright. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.